After Effects can do almost anything. But there's one thing it has never been able to do: create animations procedurally across hundreds of layers, all reacting to each other without keyframes. So 2 years ago, I started building it myself. I've been using it on real client work in my studio ever since. And today, I am finally releasing it to everyone. In the next few minutes, I will show you how it works. And we will build 3 scenes together that were genuinely impossible in After Effects until now. I am inside of After Effects, and this is Mograph Effector. Now, some of you might remember that I have actually started this journey 2 years ago by creating a set of presets. Now, this is a totally different setup to that. Since then, I have really worked hard to rebuild this into a plugin, into an extension for After Effects, which will facilitate and automate most of your process. This is Mograph Effector right over here. Once you install this, it is super easy to load up. Just go to Window, and from Extensions, you will find Mograph Effector. We are going to start from the basics. I am inside of an empty composition with just simple rectangles with different shades. The first thing that we can do, we can pick all of these rectangles, go to this little toolbar, and if we click the first one, we can create a grid out of any shapes that we pick. Now, if I undo that, we can also create circles. If I pick those, click on the circle cloner in here, you can create a circle from anything that you have selected. And finally, you can also create a line. Just as easy as that, you can create a line. Now, these are just features on the toolbar. You will have more control when you enter inside of the extension itself. I'm going to go inside of the extension now. In here, you have 2 tabs. You have Cloner and Effector. I'm going to go to Cloner. From here, I can select the cloner type. I can select grid, I can select circle, and I can select path. What the cloner does, it basically clones your layers to create the amount of layers that you desire. If I go to grid, I can click on that right over here. I can select the number of clones I want on the x-axis and the number of clones I want on the y-axis, and then it will create a grid from that. And it will do this from any of your selected layers. So if I had to very quickly unpick these, hide those, and show one of these rectangles in here, I pick that, and then I go right over here inside of grid. I can create the number of clones I want. So let's say 4 clones on the horizontal axis and 4 clones on the y-axis. If I click that, create clones, you can see that it has created a grid of 4 by 4 from that shape layer. The real power comes when we use different shapes. So if I undo this very quickly in here and I show all of these rectangles, I can pick all of those rectangles, and then I can do the same thing. I can create clones in here with these selected. And now, as you can see, it has created all those different clones from our 4 different rectangles. I can go to the circle mode and I can type in the total number of clones I want. So let's say 16. I can click create clones, and there we go. I have a circle out of those rectangles. Similarly, I also have a path feature. I go inside here, I have a path feature. And now what this will do is actually it will align your shapes to a path. To do that, we need a path. I'm going to create a path very quickly. I'm going to click the pen tool in here, and you can draw anything. I can just click on there, click there, and just create a quick path like this. Let's say we create that like that. Now I can select these rectangles. Once again, you can select one rectangle or all of them, and then I can select a path from here. Now, this might not load up immediately in here since I have just drawn it. So in that case, just hit the refresh button right over here. And now I should be able to open that and find that layer right here. Shape layer 1, click on that, and this is our path layer. And then I'm simply going to import the count. So let's say 16 and create clones. And there you go. Now you have all those layers following that path. And I can easily enter inside of this path right over here. And if I click on the points in here, I can easily move these around. As you can see, the path auto adjusts to that. A cool thing to do is actually to keyframe this path from one shape to the next. So you can literally morph from one thing to the other and create various things using path. Now, each cloner comes with its own set of settings. I can go to cloner. This is the layer right over here. Then if we enter inside of path, we can find many other features. So for instance, we can find path spread, and we can just keyframe it like that. And we can also find path offset. To view that, I'm going to decrease the path spread, and then we can simply see the offset happening right over there. Like this, we can literally run from one side to the other very simply just by tweaking a single slider. I'm just picking in here and scrubbing through this. That's cool. Now each of these cloner types, the grid, the circle, and the path, they all come with their own set of features, and these can get super powerful. Let's create the first animation. I have these 4 layers once again, and I'm going to select them. Go to the grid cloner, and from here I'm going to give it a value of 8 on the X and 1 on the Y. Click on create clones, we get this line of clones here. Now I can simply center it over here, go inside of cloner, and I can go inside of grid, and from here I can tweak things like spacing and so on. In here we have many more features. I'm not going to go into each of these, but then we'll have a separate video that just explores all the features. In this case, we're going to focus on creating our example. I'm going to cross grid, and I'm going to go to this step, stagger controls. And from here, I can create staggered animations over my layers. I enter inside of step position, for instance. I can give this a new value. Here I have position XYZ. This is the X, this is the Y, this is the Z. And if I increase this, now this new value, this position, is staggered across these layers. The first one has the 170 value, and the middle one has a 0 value. So it's staggered like this. And with just this feature, we can create so many interesting things. Let's scroll down, go to step scale, and we can do the same thing with scale. I'm going to go to step scale XY in here, and I'm going to increase the Y. Once again, we can see that staggered scale, which is this one, is 316 on the Y, while this one is the original value. We can do the same thing for rotation, for opacity, and so on. For now, I'm going to close this. Then I'm going to go to the universal step control. And from here, I can tweak the universal offset of these, the universal fall off, and I can even clamp these. Let's see very quickly what these do. We can do the offset. Once we offset this stagger, immediately you get this super interesting animation, as you can see. Since we offset from one layer to the other, you can see this nice wave effect happening right over here. And another super cool thing that we can do is we can go to the formation. Inside the formation, we had the clone index offset. This acts in somewhat the same way, but it will also shuffle these layers. If we increase this number in here, you can see even the colors moving right over there. This is super, super fun. I'm going to keyframe this, go right over here, give this a keyframe of 0, use the stopwatch in here, and then go to around 5 seconds. And let's set that to around 40. And now we can find that super fun stagger happening in here. Very, very nice. And the great thing about this is that with this animation, we can combine other features. If I go inside of grid, I can have this animation happening, while at the same time have the adjustment happening on the spacing and so on. And like that, we get this super interesting animation like that. Now, this is super powerful, but it gets even more powerful if we combine this with the effector. So you can use all of these features and then use the effector. And we are going to have a look at that very soon. But first, we are going to have a look at the text features. Basically, with text, we can do anything that we can do with layers. But something that you will find super useful is that we have a simple button in here, which you can click. This will basically split your text into separate layers and gives you a cloner control right over here, which is basically for text. And like this, you can do things like spacing and so on. And you can do all the other things like the stagger controls and so on, which you have right over here. But this gets even more interesting when we actually combine the grid, the circle, or the path with the text. Let's have a look at that. Once we select a text layer in here, we can use the grid, the circle, or the path feature right over here. Let's select, for instance, the circle. When we are inside the circle cloner in here, we can select a source. The source could be the selected layers, or else it could be text. If you're using text, you're going to pick this right over here. Immediately, it's going to take the style from this text. It also took our text right over here, and we can even type in new text right over here, and it will take that and generate the layers from that. Then we can choose to split by character or by word. I'm going to use character, and we can even select a repeat feature. We can choose repeat, and with repeat, it will basically repeat this text until it fills all of these numbers in here. Or if we click once, it will use the text right over here and ignoring this number right over here. Then if we use keep original layout, that would work exactly as this button right over here. Let's click on once for this, and we are going to simply click on create clones. And like that, you can see that this text now goes right inside of a circle cloner, and with that we get all the tools of the circle cloner. If I go inside of circle in here, I can do things like increase the radius, decrease and increase the vertical size like that, and each feature of this is animatable. We can animate the start and rotate it, we can animate the circle spread, and so on. So of course this is super powerful, since you can add text to the cloner, and you can even use the effector with this text to affect it with other layers. Now we are going to create some fun animations using the effector. I'm inside of this composition, and I have a simple circle right over here. Pick that, go to the circle mode in here, and input 24 and click on create clones. Immediately we can find this nice circle with 24 clones. You can increase this even further. Just keep in mind that when you increase the layers, it will of course slow down After Effects. Now I am going to pick all of these layers, and I'm going to go to the Effector tab. Let's jump to Effector, and from here, the main button that you need to care about is link all transforms. I can simply click on that, and it will link all the transform properties to a new effector. Now I can pick this effector and move it over the shapes in here, and the shapes will react to it. Now, of course, in this case, they are doing nothing. That's because all the values in here are set to default, and they are 0. If I go inside of effector position, I can increase that, and immediately you can start seeing these circles are being affected by this effector. That's perfect. And you have all the control that you could imagine in here. So you can choose to affect scale. I can decrease that to 50, for instance, and I can affect scale like that. You can affect rotation, and you can even affect opacity like that. Apart from that, you have other things like look at. This is where the layers would look at the effector. And then you also have attract and repel, where they would attract to the effector or repel from the effector. There are many, many options. Now, if I go inside of cloner, I can increase a little bit the radius of this circle. So I'm going to increase that radius, let's say, to around that size. And I'm going to go back on the effector, and I'm going to place it right on the circle right over there. I'll give this a 0. So right now it's only affecting the scale, and I'm going to reset as well the effector scale like that. Now, a super powerful feature of the effector is adding noise to the affected layers. I'm going to pick all of these layers in here, and I'm going to click on add noise to effector. And this would be added to the effector displayed in here. Let's click on that, and like that, immediately you will see this working. Wherever the effector is, you will get this beautiful noise, and we can tweak that to whatever value we like. If I go inside of effector, I can increase or decrease the frequency. Then I can go inside of position. I can toggle that off or on like that, and I can give it the amount that I want. Let's set that to 30. I can add scale as well. I'm going to increase that a little bit. And now we have like noise over the scale like that. And I can even add rotation and opacity if I would like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a null layer in the middle of the scene right over here. Let's go to layer, new, and null object. And I'm simply going to parent this effector to that null object right over there. Now I have this null, and this effector is parented to it. I hit R on my keyboard. I can click on the stopwatch in here and go to around the 5-second mark, and I'm going to enter 360 right over there. Now that null is rotating, and this effector will follow it. And this creates that super nice noise animation over these layers. Now this can get super powerful because you can add multiple effectors. I can pick once again these layers, and I can click on plus in here, and that would allow me to create a new effector. I can click on link all transforms in here, and now I have a separate second effector, and I can place this wherever I like. So I'm going to put it on the opposite side, right over here. And if I go on the effector, I can give this its individual value. I can also add the noise to this, and this is exactly how I created this animation right over here. Now we are going to create this scene and explore how we can use overshoot with our effectors. I'm inside of this scene in here, and I have a simple cloner just with this line of layers in here, and I'm simply going to pick all of these layers, and I'm going to go to the effector tab and link them to a new effector. I'm going to pick this effector, and I'm going to give that a position. Now, once we run through this, you can see it affecting those layers like that. Apart from this, I'm going to link the color of these layers and also other properties. To do that, it is super simple. I'm going to select all the layers in here. I'm going to hit U on my keyboard to open them up, and then I'm going to select the color right over here. It's important to hold Shift on your keyboard so that all the other layers remain selected. I have all the layers selected and that color property selected as well. Like this, I can simply click on link, and this will basically link all the colors inside of those shape layers to this effector. I can go now to effector, and I can give it a from value and a to value. Very simple. That's a from value, for instance, and this is a to value right over here. Once we get closer to that, you can see that they take that color like that. I can even choose a from original in here, and the original was white, so it will change from white to black like that. Perfect. So this is super cool, but I'm going to take this a step further. I'm going to select once again all of these layers. Let's select them all. I'm going to hit U and U on my keyboard to open their properties in here, and I would like to add the size and link it to the effector. As you know, with the size we can tweak the shape of the rectangle, so I'm going to hold Shift and click on size, and then we are going to click on link selected property in here. Similarly to what color does, that would link to a new property. Let's now go back to effector 1, and we can see that we have added the special property in here, and we can give that a from value and a to value. Let's make that from 50 to 50 in here. Let's see, like that. I'm going to decrease this a little bit like that, and even decrease this a little bit like that. So that is the from value, and then the to is the actual affected value in here. And for this, I'm going to reduce the X in here, but increase the Y like this. Now, wherever the effector is, it will basically change the shape of those layers and as well modifying the color of those like that. From white, they are going to gray and black like that. Perfect. I can even make them go round. And to do that, once again, it's super simple. We can select all of these layers. I'm going to hit U and U on my keyboard to open the properties. I'm going to go inside of rectangle in here, rectangle path, just open that, then hold Shift, click on roundness, and we are going to link another property in here. And if I go inside of effector now, I can see that I have this new property, and it is set from 0 to 100. I'm going to start it from a 0 value and give it a 50 value right over here. So now when I scrub over this, you can see that they are changing from a rectangle to a rounded rectangle like that. Now let us keyframe this effector. I'm going to go to the start right over here, and I'm going to hit P on my keyboard, keyframe that, go forward a few frames like that, and then we can go to the other side like that. And now if I preview this, I have this beautiful animation where the layers are being affected by the effector, but we can take this a step further by enabling dynamics on the effector. This is a super cool feature. Go inside of effector controls, I can go inside of dynamics, I can go to overshoot, and I can simply enable overshoot from here. And like this, when the effector passes, the animation would continue, it would continue jumping right over here, and this gives us a really nice physics look, a really nice natural look. And we can increase the frequency amount in here and so on. So if you would like that to be more springy, you can increase the frequency amount in here to 4, for instance, you can see how that affects it right over there. Finally, I would like to show you how you can paint using the effector. And this is super useful. I have this empty scene here with just these two layers, and we are going to create this super fun setup in just a few minutes. I'm going to hide the first one in here, and I'm going just to use this outline in here and go to the cloner, and I'm going to give the grid a value of 4 and 4, and I'm just going to click on create clones like that. Like that, I have this nice grid. I'm going to use them just as an outline. Now I'm going to go to the other square. It was the square with the color basically. And I'm going to duplicate this 4 times just to have 4 of these squares. There we go. I'm going to show them very quickly in here. And what I would like to do is actually give a different color for each of these. I'm going to go to the 2 in here, and I'm going to give it a slight different color in here. Go to 3 and give that a different color like that, and go to 4 and just give that a different color like that. Now I have 4 rectangles with different colors. I'm going to pick those, and I'm going to go to the grid cloner and do exactly the same thing. Create a grid of 4 by 4, click on create clones, and there we go, we have our grid. We can align these to the middle. Let's click the align tools right over here, and I'm going to align cloner 1 as well. So let's go to cloner 1 and align that as well. Now they are fully aligned like that. Then we are going to select all of the colored layers, which would be these, and we are going to go to the effector tab, and we are going to get a new effector. So link all transforms in there, and there we go, we have linked all the transforms. In this case, I'm going to add the special properties just as we have just done in the other example. We're going to select all of these layers, hit U and U on our keyboard, and we're going to go on size in here, hold shift to select size in here, and just click on link selected property. In here, it's good to note that this is a size of 80, so keep that in mind. We're going to click link in here, and immediately now, if we go on effector, we can find that special property, and we can set that from a 0 and to a value of 80 right over there. And now wherever this effector is, these rectangles would simply enlarge in size like that. That's great. Now I'm going to keyframe this effector to run over this shape in here. So let's zoom up a little bit in here and go on the effector, give it a position value right over here, then move forward a few frames and move it to the other side right over there. And if I preview the animation, it will look like this. This is super cool. I'm just going to decrease a little bit the effector size in here. You can do that by going to fall off in here, where you can change the shape. For instance, you can use a different shape if you would like. In my case, I just simply would like to reduce its radius. So I'm going to reduce it to around that size. And that's perfect. Now I'm going to go inside of dynamics, and I'm going to enter inside of sticky. I can enable sticky from here. And sticky, what it does, it will basically stick that animation. So that animation would stick around a little bit further, and it would give you this nice like drawing effect. Now in here you have 2 different options, which is sticky delay and sticky release. If we delay these sticky delay and sticky release in here, we would allow those layers to hang in there a little bit more. I'm going to increase this to a value of 1, for instance, and now we're going to preview it. Now we can see that the effector passes, but these layers hang in there for that 1 second in there as it passes. And like that, you can draw using the effector. As you can see, it leaves a trail behind it wherever it passes. And of course, all of these features can be combined and used with any type of layer. So that could be images, that could be pre-composed compositions, and so on. That's basically it, guys. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description, so go check it out. Now, there's so many more features in this, I simply cannot cover them all inside of this tutorial, but I'm going to do a separate video which will go through each and every feature and explain this all in detail of how you can use it.